great. So, just abruptly ends the conversation. That's great. So this was not requested, but I did part 1. Sorry. I did part 1, and I was asked if I have time, could I do part 2? And I'm all about presidents, so absolutely I can. I'm going to break this down, not so much in minutes, but like in sections. I think that's what I did in the last one. So I'll end it at the Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, and other duds. And I'll throw in my little comments. I don't know about every single president. That's my downfall, if you want to call it that. I haven't read about every single one of them. I might know a little bit here and there, but maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I can add. Probably not, because I'm just a dummy. So get on with the video.
Wild West, Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada.
Round 2.
The Wild West.
And then again, and then again.
Hello. Welcome to part 2 of The Presidents. I mean, this is crazy. Matt's unavailable. He had to attend to his family. So
That sounds really bad.
Yeah. It's not. I checked in on him. He's okay. Everything's okay. There was.
I don't mean it sounds bad like medically. It sounds like, fight.
No, there was no fight. Just so we're clear. Let's start, dude. Let's start where we left off. We're going right into it because we got to plow through these guys because they kind of suck.
Yeah, some of these guys I'm not interested in at all. So just name them.
So this is Rutherford B. Hayes.
He destroyed. He stopped Reconstruction. I mean, he stopped the slave.
He was the one
help
who,
the black people stuff.
So the reason he did that is because he was losing to a guy named Tilden.
Okay, so what I do know, what they're going to get into, Rutherford B. Hayes is the president after Ulysses S. Grant, so he's 19. And he gets in and basically tells the South, I will end Reconstruction, because he's trying to get the Southern vote. I think he was a Democrat. Was he a Democrat? Let's ask the Googs machine. Was Rutherford B. Hayes a Democrat?
According to the White House, safe liberalism, party loyalty, and a
Nope.
good war record
He's
make Hayes
Republican.
an acceptable Republican candidate.
Okay. Oh, yes. Democrats were in the South. Duh, Kris. So he was a Republican, and in order to get the Democratic vote, he told them he would end Reconstruction. And he got in on what they call like the crooked election or something like that. I don't remember everything that gets in with that. The crooked deal, crooked negotiation. I don't remember. Basically, he was like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You vote me in, I'll end Reconstruction. And he got in by like one electoral vote or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Election.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Louisiana, and Florida were the 3 southern states that still hadn't counted in the Electoral College.
Yeah.
The Republicans made a deal with the Democrats that said, we'll remove federal troops from those states if you give them to Hayes. And they did.
This is after the Civil War's over.
Yeah.
They're still having this fucking.
Well, that's because the KKK was. They were
Okay.
they were the real
Okay.
deal. They were
Okay.
fucking.
The KKK started after the Civil War. And Andrew Jackson. We got to go forward, Kris. Ulysses S. Grant creates the Department of Justice to go after the Klan. So, okay, I'm not, and I think I might have said this on the last video, and I'm not trying to say this to be sarcastic or rude in any way, but the first iteration of the Klan, I'm going to say where they screwed up, but please understand that I'm not trying to diminish the lives of black people, former slaves who were killed. What I'm meaning when I say that in kind of a jest, a ha-ha, which, so what the Just say it. So what the original Klan did is, after the Civil War, white Northerners moved south. They moved south to try. They were carpetbaggers and all this other stuff, but they went down there for land. They wanted to farm. They wanted to do this, but they also wanted to help build up the lower class, former slave black people. So what the Klan did was the first iteration of the Klan saw these people, saw the white people coming down, helping black people get back up on their feet, get jobs, maybe get elected. And they were like, no, we can't have this. So they might have went after some black people and killed them. Well, the white outrage in the South of Northerners who went down was, they were hearing that in Washington, D.C. And they were saying, okay, we kind of got to change something, but we don't quite know what we've got to do yet. And then where I said the Klan made their mistake, the Klan started targeting white people from the North moving down to help black people. So they might round up, and I know this is terrible, they might round up 10 black people, 2 white people. They hang them all. Then the North gets outraged that these white people are getting hanged. And they couldn't believe the audacity of these people to hang these white people. What about the 10 black people? Yeah, that's terrible. But these white people. And so it was kind of like, well, we can't have them hanging white people like black people. And so Grant, Department of Justice, they went down, and he had was former Phil Sheridan, was he one of the people who went down? He was under Grant's administration when he was general of all Union forces. Sheridan was there, and I mean clearly Sherman, but Sherman didn't have anything to do with this. Sherman actually was against Grant becoming a president, and actually spoke out against him several times. I visited Sherman's grave, so that's why I bring it up. But yeah, the Klan under Grant pretty much got decimated because they made the audacity of hanging white people. So he swooped, not Grant himself, but they swooped down and they started arresting people. And they were pretty much saying, you tell us who you talk, who's the person above you, kind of like you would expect today in any criminal organization. They're going to catch someone. Who do you report to? You follow that money trail. You move up. You want the big fish. These small people, you catch them, you find information from them, and then you give them a little sentence or something. But they're nothing. They're just foot soldiers in a way. They're the drug dealers on the corner. You want the guy who's bringing the drugs in from another country. This is a terrible analogy for what we're talking about, but you understand. You want the higher ups, and so that's what they did. They started targeting, the Justice Department started targeting those higher ups, and the initial iteration of the Klan turned to putting on the hoods when they attended meetings. That way, if we can't see each other, we can't tell on each other. But by then, it had gotten to the point of, this isn't good because they're busting us. So the hood part did kind of stick around for the second iteration, which did happen. It came about almost 40 years later. Unfortunately, it happened under Woodrow Wilson. I know there's going to be, Greg in particular, I can see you saying Woodrow Wilson is a racist. I can't disagree with you. All I can really say to that is, even Abraham Lincoln was a racist. Racism in terms of presidents, wow. Washington, clearly a slave owner. John Adams probably wasn't racist, but certainly probably, well, John Adams really didn't get along with everybody. This isn't about Adams. I do apologize. We're just going to stop that thought. But Woodrow Wilson's friend, ends up making Birth of a Nation, which was, about how the Klan was good for the South. It was saving white women and da 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 da. And so that iteration of the Klan came about under Woodrow Wilson, and there were some people that thought Wilson was giving him cover. I read a book about Wilson. I visited his boyhood home. Clearly, if that's true, it's not going to be a talking point for them. Like, oh yeah, before you go, Wilson loved the Klan. They're not going to take that with you as you go out the door. They're not going to say that. But the Klan was bad, but when Rutherford B. Hayes came around, they pretty much were in hiding. I apologize for all the talking.
So they had the federal troops down there, which actually kind of helped the Republicans get votes. Because the black people were allowed to vote at this point. They had the troops down there protecting them to get their votes. And obviously, that's
what the guy said
when
the first guy pitched the name, Ku Klux Klan. The leader was K. K.
You liked it?
Bad joke.
No,
yeah,
right.
But it took him. He had to warm up to it.
Okay.
K.
Republicans removed it. Basically, he ended Reconstruction. Hayes didn't do much, but this is actually important because this is kind of the end of it. Lowered presidential power quite a bit. These guys kind of took a back step to Carnegie, Rockefeller. This is the rise of these capitalists.
Yeah,
monsters.
like now with the tech guys,
and we're still
with the Bezos and Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, I'm sick of him.
That's actually a pretty good observation. All the early steel magnates and the metal and all those guys, how big tech, and when I say big tech, I mean rich people in those types of industry, railroad, and all those guys, how they really did push American policy to their benefit. And you can see that today, as they say. After he said that was like a kick to the brain. That's a really good observation. And the person who stepped in and stopped it, they will be talking about. Come on. I mean, you just knew that Teddy Roosevelt was going to have his own thing. Teddy Roosevelt is badass. I love Teddy. There's not much. I really can't think of. We're talking about Teddy Roosevelt. It's not Teddy Roosevelt's time. There isn't much about Teddy Roosevelt that I really can say I dislike. He might have said "yeehaw" one too many times. That's about it. I mean, I'm not really thinking about it, but Teddy Roosevelt was just awesome. Teddy Roosevelt is a man's man in any time. I don't care the generation. He was just awesome. I would have loved to have seen him hang out with that guy. Oh.
My God.
What are you going to do if he bought it, right?
He bought Twitter. You guys.
What are you going to do?
He bought Twitter from those really great people that owned it. Like now it's not going to be democracy because the people that owned it before were like a bunch of monks or something.
They were.
Yeah, they were a bunch of monks that just knew everything.
Yeah.
And now he took it and he's a piece of shit.
Although I don't think
Elon Musk.
I don't think Trump's getting back on, which is the only thing I wanted.
You don't know yet.
He is on.
Who knows?
Yeah, he
Who
could
knows?
be being coy.
I'm sorry. He got accepted, but I don't think he's actually signed back up yet.
Which one, Trump?
Trump. He could be like, maybe I'll come back.
Maybe I'll come back.
Maybe I won't. So this is big for Hayes. 1877.
So those guys, the corporations started having more power than the federal government
as soon as Hayes
because
took over.
The fucking industrial North that plowed the South under, and then it just became belching machines.
Yeah,
and oil started.
Yeah,
and fuck it, there was just steel, coal, oil.
Yeah.
What year are we at?
This is 1877.
Okay, so no cars or anything, but
close.
really big horses.
The horses got bigger.
Huge horses.
Trains.
They were like 10 feet.
There's still trains. I mean, clearly boats. Horse and carriage. Yeah, that's virtually your feet. That's transportation.
wide horses then.
When Hayes took over,
The trains.
Penn Railroad cut employee pay by 20%. So right away,
motherfuckers, they were Amazon.
Right away, they Amazoned out.
Sons of bitches.
So there was strikes.
Yeah.
And then Hayes sent in federal troops to put down strikes. So the government sided with the corporations, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And they used, they went down and
Sorry, give me just a second. I have to pause this. I'll be right back, I swear. Okay, sorry, I'm back. Back to the video. My apologies.
got guys that were striking with
That's-
real troops.
Did you ever see? Never mind.
Sorry. I'm going to go back just a second. Because I did pause it, so. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Hayes sent in federal troops to put down strikes. So the government sided with the corporations, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And they used, they went down and shot guys that were striking with
That's-
real troops.
Did you ever see? Never mind.
Do it.
I'm just reacting to shit I don't know about. And
That's
by the way,
fine.
this is when people get excited and like make pop off remarks like I've been the last 2 minutes. It's because they actually don't know what they're talking about.
Well, we don't know. what we're
I'm
talking
only
about.
hearing about it from you.
Yeah, it is. But what a
And
good
you're
way
looking
to-
at your phone,
What a good
so-
way to put down a strike. Well, this is research I did, but that's all right.
Yeah, just you send in dudes to beat the shit out of the guys,
Yeah.
the strikers.
Just open fire on them.
On which industries? The
Mostly,
coal-
mostly railroad and coal. Yeah.
Did you ever see Mattawan?
Mm-mm.
It's a great movie by John Sayles. Nobody knows who he is anymore.
Mm-mm.
8 Men Out, about the White Sox, the Black Sox.
No.
If anybody's a baseball fan, 8 Men Out is a movie based on the Chicago White Sox. Yeah, they had a guy named Shoeless Joe Jackson, who I think was illiterate, or anyway. So it's the scandal of baseball. I think the World Series scandal, and everyone on the Chicago White Sox pretty much accepted money to take a dive, except for Shoeless Joe Jackson. And I only know the name because Shoeless Joe Jackson. What a nickname! But yeah, it's a black and white movie. It's really good. It's interesting. If you're a baseball fan, I'm sure you've seen it. If you're not, and you just like interesting movies, like true life movies, you might like it.
I know about it. Shoeless Joe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So he made a movie called
Meyer
Mattawan.
Lansky.
What?
Meyer Lansky. The
Yes,
Jews
that's
behind
right.
it.
I mean, he might have been Jewish.
Meyer Lansky. Meyer
I mean,
Lansky.
I'm not going to say he didn't do it because he was Jewish.
You think that's what Hitler
He
was
was
mad
Jewish
about?
because he did it.
Was
What?
the World Series?
That's what Hitler was mad about.
I think that might have been what he was pissed about.
the Black Sox.
Yeah.
Oh, Black
I
Sox.
don't know.
1880.
Mattawan. So Mattawan is a movie about the coal mining strikes and these guys that are trying to make a union, right? And so there's a kid in it who's a preacher. It's a common thing back then in rural places that a child would be a preacher, like
Yeah.
a touched child who just can really fucking rock. Sam Kinison was a preacher when he was a kid.
No.
Yes, did you know that?
No.
Sam Kinison was a preacher.
Sam Kinison is a comedian. You either love him or hate him. He was a little bit before my time. I think he died in 91. He's known for telling a joke, and then in the middle of it, he'd just say something, and then he'd just start yelling and screaming. Oh! Very entertaining. I think he was born in Naperville, Illinois. Then he moved to East Peoria. I'm from Peoria, right across the river, and worked in a church as a minister, or whatever that is that they do. Whatever title he was given, I don't know. This is going to be a long video, Kris. You're talking a lot, and I got to see him one time in the late '80s We were me, my dad, and my sister Angie were coming back, or we were at the Christmas parade, which the Christmas parade was the day after Thanksgiving, still is, downtown Peoria. It's the oldest. Is it? It's okay. They don't call it the Christmas parade. Do they call it the Santa parade? It's the oldest parade of what it is in the nation. Hold on. Peoria, Illinois Santa Parade.
I found these results.
Oldest parade in the nation.
Here's what I found on the web.
It's a 4th of July parade. Oldest Santa parade in the nation.
According to the caucus blog of the Illinois House Republicans, Peoria, the 8th largest city in Illinois, is home to the longest-running Santa Claus parade in America. And not only is the parade a staple of Thanksgiving weekend in the River City, the event continues to thrive as the 136th edition arrives later this year.
There's 136 years going. Shout out to my city. Had nothing to do with Sam Kinison. But yes, it did. So we saw him leaving a hotel, and he was getting into a bus. And we were just walking along, and it said Sam Kinison on the bus, and it had a picture of him. And I knew the name. And my dad goes, Sam Kinison's in town. I think it's Hotel Pierre Marquette. And he goes, Sam Kinison's in town. Interesting. And then he's standing out there, and somebody yells, Sam Kinison, and whistled, I love you. He turned around and he gave a wave. And then he looked around because all these other people are just like this. And he just jumped on the bus and just got out of sight.
Before he was a comic.
Christ.
Yes. And he did it. Lord, it
must have
sounded
been great.
exactly like his act. Talking about Jesus Christ. If you don't find Jesus Christ in your heart, you're one of those guys. He does it in one of his specials. He flashes into it for a moment.
Wow.
And they cut to his mother in the audience like this. And, she loves him as a comic. She loved him as a preacher. But it's the same energy. Okay. So kid preachers,
Like There Will
common.
Be Blood.
Huh?
Fucking, yeah.
Yeah. Paul Dano plays, he's not, younger than that. The kid's a teenager.
Yeah.
And he was the spiritual leader of the town, this little Pennsylvania, where you're from, town of coal miners. And there is some guys start to organize to make a union. And the kid, the churches, which was common also, the church was in on the union. So they wanted to help the union. So they are planning a walkout or a strike or something. So the company sent these two thugs, fucking, guys with whiskey in their pocket, to go down there and go to the meeting to just eavesdrop on the plan. So they're sitting in the back of the church, just waiting to hear what the plans are. And the kid doesn't want them to know what the plan is. So he tells a biblical parable. He tells a story from the Bible that clearly, to anyone who knows the Bible, says what time and when and how they're going to do it. I don't know the Bible story, but the guys, it's a great moment because the guys in the back don't hear it because they're heathens. So they don't have any faith. So the truth is right in front of them and they can't even hear it. It's a great
That's
moment.
nice.
That's my only thing on Rutherford beat Hayes.
That's good, though.
So that's what, back then it was like this wicked, but it's important it's the through line of America, because once we were all kind of thrown into the same place, then it was this thing about the industrial rich, in Normandy, all over the world too, in England also, with Oliver Twist and whatever, and when Dickens was writing, poorhouses, workhouses, that's how they did it over there. And here we had a horrible version of the same thing, 3-year-old kids working in mills. And that against the impossibility of capitalist structure and people trying to organize, and that union organization was not a sort of liberal ideal. It was the people. It was the working people.
Yeah. They had to do it.
They had to. They just needed leverage. That's all. They just needed capitalist leverage. They needed their part in the capitalist scheme that you had to, that you couldn't just get some other guys if these guys wouldn't do it for your price.
This is 10, 12 years after the Civil War.
That's right.
Half these guys were veterans. Like, they had been through hell.
Yes.
And now they're coming home and they're like, actually, we're going to stop paying you guys as much because
Yes.
we're getting richer.
Every class of veterans has come home to total confusion and having no worth in the society that they protected.
They get
Every
a parade,
class of veterans has
they get a
gotten
party.
fucked.
Yeah.
Like all the guys, the blacklisted guys in Hollywood, these were all war veterans. These were all war heroes who came home and saw the country in tatters and had some ideas about another system, and they got thrown in prison for it. But anyway, whatever. But so yes, they so that then and also we were pushing west.
Yeah.
So
this is
cities
also-
these cities like the Northeast and places like Chicago were like churning out black smoke and industry, and in the West, people were still gunfighting.
Yeah.
Folks
Absolutely.
were fighting each other with guns.
In the 1870s, it would have been the Indian, towards the end of the Indian Wars.
Yes.
I mean, the Comanche was still going wild. Like it was,
And
it was
there's all
still
these
hanging on.
American professional soldiers
Yeah.
who fought in the Civil War, and some of them went west to fight the Indian Wars.
Yeah.
And then some of them said, fuck all this, and just became gunfighters and used this ability they had, which is exactly the same. It's why in Japan, I don't know if you watch Kurosawa movies, like samurai movies. You need to watch some things.
So when he, I apologize. I wanted to look something up. When he was saying the 1870s, you know, there was still the Indian Wars, Native Wars, whatever. I don't know, again, how many of my audience, which are foreign, know about this, but October 26th, 1881, as he was saying, they're still shootouts in the West. October 26th, 1881, at about 3 p.m. in Tombstone, Arizona. There's probably 4 of you who are going to know what this is. That is the location of the gunfight at the OK Corral. The OK Corral was a shootout between, the lawman was Virgil Earp and Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp, OK Corral. Wyatt Earp was I just almost said the Tombstone. He was Dodge City. Wyatt Earp was born in Monmouth, Illinois. I can go to his birth home about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. And I'm bragging about Peoria right now. In his life, he tried a bunch of different things, a bunch of different schemes. And one of them was he came to Peoria and he ended up being a pimp at a brothel for his wife. And things went wrong. He ended up beating a man, I think to death or near death. He fled, became a lawman, moved west. That's an example. You got people like Billy the Kid. You have the West. Anything really west of the Mississippi back in those days. Illinois, not so much, but maybe west of Illinois. I mean, Missouri, you had the Jesse James. You had the James gang. You had, I visited his grave, his birth home, his home, and his original grave. That was awesome. But everything west, it literally was what you imagine cowboys. 2 6-shooters on their hip, walking into saloons with spurs on their shoes, on their boots, and saying howdy partner. Like it, you had the East Coast being more modern, and then you had crazy things. I can't think of the guy's name now who was killed in. He was the one who was killed playing cards, and they call it the dead man's hand. I can go to where his birth home was is about an hour north of me, but the home isn't there. But there's a statue of where the home was and where they believe he was born at, and then a picture of his head. Oh my goodness, I cannot think of his name. Has nothing to do with the story. But I apologize. But I'm only bringing it up to show you that it really was a lawless society in a way.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Okay. Fistful of Dollars.
Yes.
Fistful of Dollars is a remake.
Oh, okay.
Yes, of a Japanese movie, a black and white Japanese movie called Yojimbo. This is not like a hidden idea. This is a true Yojimbo. Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it?
Yes, I used to watch all those fucking.
Okay.
There was another one made recently. Chris Pratt was in it. Was Denzel Washington in it? It's a good movie. I haven't. Did I? Yes, I did see the original one.
So the Magnificent Seven is a remake
Yeah.
of the seven. Don't nod like you know it. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm
The
trying to
Seven
get through the
Samurai.
fucking story, if I'm being honest.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
This is all has to do with the presidents.
All right. We got to plow through these.
I know.
We're still at
We'll
Hayes, and we're
skip
talking
after-
about
we'll
Japanese
skip.
movies.
The Seven Samurai is this Magnificent Seven is a remake of the Seven Samurai. It's a total remake. Go watch these movies. It's amazing.
All right.
Because the Japanese I think it was called the medieval era. It was the same as our West because they had these wars with samurai. And then all those dynasties like broke up and it became just chaos and corrupted. They all became corrupt.
Yeah.
And so the samurai just wandered the hills
just gone for
called Ronin, and they just became swords for
shit.
hire.
Yeah.
And so that was just exactly the same as gunmen. So these great Japanese movies about these swordsmen who were just out for hire in these towns where there was no law were precise, perfect. I'm just saying that these kind of things happen all over the world.
course.
Okay, so Hayes. Who came after Hayes? Fuck Hayes. Who came after Hayes?
Garfield.
Damn it! I was going to say Garfield. Garfield gets assassinated, and then after him is Chester A. Arthur.
Don't
1880. No, this is a good one.
care. Okay.
This is a cool fact about him. He could write Latin with one hand and Greek with the other simultaneously. And they were like, this guy's going to be, he's smart enough. He could be the guy to get us out. Because this is after.
So he was another nerd. He was
a nerd. He was a nerd.
He was considered the what if president. What if he didn't get shot? Like he didn't get killed? The things he was capable of. He's one. I'm not trying to tarnish him, but he's one of those people that because his life was taken so soon, and he had a lot of potential, and he had a lot of friends in Congress. He knew how to work with people. And so he's the what if president because they think that he was always a good negotiator. He never tried to screw you over. Like he was a good guy. He's a good politician. And so he's the what if president because what if he wasn't killed? Where would the country be? Because he was shot and killed, I want to say 6 to 9 months into his term by some wacko.
But this is after 3 straight duds. This is after
By the way, I
Johnson.
can do that.
Johnson, Grant.
Grant's not a dud. Grant is not a dud.
200 days into office, he was on his way to a college reunion. He was at a DC rail
College
station.
reunion?
He was going to a college reunion.
Wow.
There's
Like Jello
different-
shots and
He was going to do, yeah.
beer bongs.
He was going to go wild. He was shot twice in the back by a guy named Charles Guiteau. And Guiteau is very interesting. I looked into him last night. He was a moron. He was a traveling moron who thought that he had campaigned.
It's like a village idiot, but a traveling moron, like-
He would go fail in town to town and everyone hated him.
fail doing what?
For religious shit. He joined like a cult. They were like, this guy fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would be like, I'm going to start a paper for that cult in a different town. It would fail. Then he would go to like Boston and yell at people. It didn't work. He would just go around fucking up. And then he was in DC and he started trying to give speeches on behalf of Garfield. So then when Garfield won, he was like, I did that. I want to be the fucking ambassador to Paris. And they were like, no. And he was like, how about Vienna? They were like, who are you? So then he got angry and then he bought a gun. But he was kind of aware of the
What kind of
significance
gun
of it.
did he use?
He bought it was a Bulldog revolver.
Mm.
And he couldn't afford the ivory handle.
Yeah.
So the guy selling the gun was like, all right, I'll give you the one with the ivory handle. And he's like, this is going to be in a museum.
Is it?
Somebody lost it. There's a picture of it. Yeah, but he shot him twice. And then he
How
yelled,
did he get close to him?
I think back then you could just walk
Up.
There was no Secret Service. You could just walk up behind him, and he yelled like, "I'm here for Arthur," who was the vice president.
Chester Arthur.
Yeah, he was like, "Chester Arthur is the real president
Because he's gonna make me ambassador."
He killed him. Garfield died 2 months later.
Just a quick side note: when he said how did he get so close to him, up until we're talking about president number 20, and then we're going to go into 21, up to Truman, Harry Truman, number 33. It's still a good leap, you know. Harry Truman used to walk to work, took breaks. Secret Service had to do everything they could to be around him, but you can't do that today. Secret Service will shut you down, shut the president down. But yeah, so you could get to somebody. Hell, Andrew Jackson was on the steps of Congress when a guy came up and pulled a pistol on him and fired almost point blank range. It didn't go off. And he pulled a second pistol, fired, and that didn't go off. And then by then Jackson started beating him with his cane. And they said both misfires, because I think somebody picked up the gun and said, "Is it loaded?" And they fired it, and it shot in the air. And they said both of those guns misfiring was a 1 in 125,000 chance.
From these wounds.
So he's then the fourth guy. So he was the second guy to get killed in office.
Yes. This is after Lincoln.
Yep. Second
Then
guy to
Garfield.
get killed in office. Okay.
Chester Arthur takes over, doesn't do shit. 1884 is now comes Grover Cleveland. This is the first major media election. Papers are now starting to be partisan.
He's a Democrat too.
Cleveland
Don't care about him.
gets accused of having a kid out of wedlock. James Blaine was a crook, whatever. Cleveland barely wins. He hated the press. One thing that's cool is he married a 21-year-old.
Ow!
Yeah, that's pretty good. Then he won the popular vote and lost the electoral to Benjamin Harrison. His hot 21-year-old wife said, "Don't fucking move anything in the White House. We're going to be back in 4 years."
Oh.
Pretty hot. Benjamin Harrison.
She's still around.
She's still around, probably. Benjamin Harrison, 23rd president. Okay, spoiler. So 22 was Grover Cleveland. 23, Benjamin Harrison. 24, Grover Cleveland. He's the only president to serve 2 terms, but non-consensual. The hell. Non-consensual. Yeah, he didn't agree to those terms. Non-consecutive. So when we look at it, Biden is number 46 of our presidents, but we've had 45. But Benjamin Harrison, just a quick side note, been to his house, by the way. He did own a raccoon when he was a president. Those are 2 side notes. I think he had a sheep, too. So Benjamin Harrison served... by the way, his grandfather was president number 9, William Henry Harrison, who's the shortest serving president in history. He died 35 days in. Benjamin Harrison's inauguration, people feared the same thing would happen to him, so they sent raincoats and jackets, umbrellas, all kinds of things to keep him warm. He did not die. Harrison served under William Tecumseh Sherman. I made a short visiting William Tecumseh Sherman's grave, just saying. And Harrison took part in the burning of the South. Well, I shouldn't air quote. They burned it, not all of it, but they did burn it. He took part in. He was under Sherman, and then at the end of Harrison's term, he was going to run for re-election, and his wife died. I don't remember the reason, but he was crushed, and he didn't care if he won or lost. And, poor guy just didn't want to be there anymore.
Probably.
Grandson of William Henry Harrison. He didn't do anything. He actually did nothing. He would leave the office at noon every day and just go hunt.
Just go upstairs.
William Henry Harrison was the first one to have gas. Was it gas put in the White House for lighting and stuff like that? Not saying it's a giant accomplishment, but it upgraded.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Okay, so him and
So this is still just a run of horrific presidents.
stinks. All
that
these
are
guys
just
stink.
destroying.
And we're
the country.
marching through the
Yes.
late 1800s.
1893, Cleveland gets reelected.
Yeah,
People liked his hot daughter, and now their new daughter, or his hot bride,
wife. Yeah.
and now their new daughter, Baby Ruth.
Okay.
You know the candy bar?
Yeah, but isn't that Babe
Named
Ruth?
no.
That's
I
not
think it's
Babe
named
Ruth?
after their daughter.
You don't think it's named after Babe Ruth?
You gotta look that up, dude.
Feels closer to true. Did they even have candy bars back then?
Look, man.
You know who
Don't want to punch holes in
You know who
this.
Mounds was named after?
Ew.
Your mother's cunt.
I had a feeling. I had a strong feeling. What?
Says, the candy bar was named after Ruth Cleveland.
I like
It
that.
took place in 1921.
You could check Mounds.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Let's check my house.
See if Mounds was named after my mother's cunt.
Okay. Well,
I mean, it's just sad, Shane.
What if it says Mrs.
Shane.
What if it says Mrs. CK? What if there's a twist?
Maybe I'm projecting. It could be.
That gets it. All right. But these guys are destroying the country. Unemployment's at 18%.
All right. Yeah.
Great. There's a depression. McKinley comes into office 1897. He did his campaign entirely from his front porch in Ohio.
Yes.
Which is pretty funny.
And he's the first Ohio guy, isn't he?
Grant.
I think he's
What was
Grant is from Ohio. That's
William Henry Harrison was Ohio. I think. Maybe he was Pennsylvania. Well, anyways, McKinley. So McKinley is 25. McKinley. I'm not going to say it.
right. But there was like a run of Ohio
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
straight through, but there was a lot of Ohio dudes.
all these.
Rutherford B. Hayes is also from Ohio. Okay. You can go to Ohio. You can visit McKinley, Hayes. I don't remember now. There's like 5 you can visit.
Guys.
Okay,
Cleveland,
so
Harrison-
McKinley's from Ohio.
He was the last president who served in the Civil War. He didn't want war. Everybody seemed to. His whole thing was cultivating good press. He was the first guy that seemed to master that.
Yeah.
He understood it because Cleveland before him fucking hated it.
So let's get to Teddy, okay? Because he's the only guy that
Well, this is good,
something
though.
important to say about McKinley? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he started 1898. The Spanish Empire was falling. Cuba was open. There's Cuban rebels. He didn't want to, but eventually got talked into it because guys like William Randolph Hearst, all the major media people were like, we got to go to war. Fuck that. So he sent the USS Maine into Cuba's port. Somehow it exploded. No one knows how. 250 guys died. Media demanded war with Spain. That's where the Remember the Maine, all that shit comes from. McKinley created the Situation Room in the White House. That was pretty tight, so that they could. Huh? That's exciting stuff.
Nice work.
This is a 10-week war.
Yeah.
The U.S. fucks them up.
To be fair, Spain at that time and America at that time, like, you know, everyone is here and they're here, right? This is where everyone else is. They're here. Not everyone else. There's some countries that were up there, you know, but Spain at that time was considered a declining empire while the U.S. was starting to become a rising empire. Look, it happened in Cuba. That's 90 miles south of Florida. Spain is on the other side of the ocean. Who do you think is going to have a better chance to get troops to the battlefield, to get weapons, ammo, food? I'm not trying to say that America, you know, got lucky or anything like that. They won, and they really beat Spain. But I think Spain only did it because they were up here for so long and there was still something about it, but I don't think they really had it in them. You know, I think after a while they were kind of like, what are we doing? What do we do? We're fighting over Cuba. What are we doing? Not to say Cuba's bad, but I'm just saying they're looking at it like, look at our country. Look at the size of Spain. Now look at Cuba. And it's literally, it's reaching out to America. Look at Florida. Florida's reaching down to it saying, hi. Like, it's just a bad spot for them. And it's not like Cuba really gave them anything. It's not packed with oil. It's not, I'm talking a lot. I do
in his
apologize.
thing, he annexed Puerto Rico in the Philippines, also annexed Hawaii in 1898. 1900, he wins the election, this time with his vice president, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
And we can get...
Teddy Roosevelt was an up-and-coming pain in the ass to New York politicians. So what do you do when you want to get rid of that pain in the ass? You push him on to become the vice president. Because the vice president did nothing. He's going to become the vice president. He's going to love it. Teddy Roosevelt's going to love it. But that's going to get him out of the news. He's not going to be here. He's not going to be trying to clean up the city. He's not going to be doing this. He's not going to be doing that. He's not going to cause them headaches. So they push him out. What happens to McKinley? He gets assassinated. Doesn't work out for those people. I will end it.
into Teddy, dude.
Oh, okay. We're into Teddy. So I'm gonna go back just a little bit before Teddy. God, I love Teddy Roosevelt. I love Teddy. So we've covered 18 minutes, 15 seconds. Let's see how long I've talked and made this video. Oh my goodness. I've added 25 minutes onto this video. I apologize to everyone with ears. So I'm just going to make this quick, and there's a thanks button. You can donate to the channel. You don't have to. Subscribe, click the bell, give a thumbs up. That helps me just as much as if you were to donate. If you don't want to donate, click the thumbs up. Seriously, that really does help. Subscribe, as I said, click the bell. The bell does something. I'm not exactly sure. And until next time, I do apologize for all the talking. But, I love presidents. So have a good day. Have a good night.